Ooh, yes, finally. You know how everyone said, well, nothing's going to happen from the Twitter files, blah, 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 blah. Well, you might still be right, but we've got a whole day full of amazing sound bites of Twitter creeps, Yoel Roth, Vijaya Gotti, Jim Baker, and so many more getting grilled on Capitol Hill. I'm condensing out all the clips for you here. So we'll go over each individual's testimony and address the hilarity, the lies, the mistruths. And I really appreciate your support. I'm pushing hard for 1.5 million subscribers. I couldn't even believe, I can't even believe I'm saying that by my birthday. My birthday is in April. It's April 12th. So if you're a casual viewer, we're so close. We're only like 20,000 away. I'm sure there's at least 20,000 people who are watching who aren't subscribed. So check it out, please. Think about allowing me to earn your subscription. Now, Michael Schellenberger opened up a thread this morning talking about Twitter Files congressional hearings. Twitter executives, including former lawyer Jim Baker and FBI double agent seemingly, who served as Twitter's deputy counsel, we'll talk about that, then is to testify in front of the House Oversight Committee about their handling of one particular story of the infamous laptop. But also, we look at Yoel Roth, Vijaya Gotti. We have, Representative Jamie Raskin calling the Twitter Files authentically trivial and silly, but doesn't address the coordinated effort by the intelligence community to discredit the computer, which was in FBI possession from December 2019, before its contents were even public almost a full year later. We have Jim Baker, Vijaya Gotti, Yoel Roth, and Annika Collier-Navaroli. We're going to talk about Baker in particular, but let's talk about Yoel Roth, perhaps the most suspect of all these suspects, okay? Literally shaking while he's testifying. I'd feel bad for him as a human. I know a lot of you make fun of me because I still have that stupid emotion, empathy, and I haven't been totally hardened by the internet. I promise you I'm turning to a robot slowly but surely. But, he is legitimately nervous, and you could tell this is no joke. I mean, so you see Yoel Roth says Twitter saw the laptop having similarities to 2016 hacking stuff of the DNC. They are similar in the fact only that the DNC fell for a phishing link, and that the president's son forgot his laptop at a repair shop. There is no evidence that Russia was responsible for either one of them. We then have another clip. Some of these I'm going to, I'll play. Some of them I'll just kind of go through. You see, Yoel Roth appealing to emotion here. Former head of Twitter Trust and Safety, Yoel Roth, on the Twitter Files. It didn't just affect me, but affected much more junior employees at the company. Ultimately, I had to leave my home and sell it. Sorry, multi-millionaire who got a multi-million-dollar settlement on the way out the door, I'm sure. I don't feel bad for you. And honestly, what, you had to sell your home and buy a bigger home with, you go in a ski resort or whatever. It's absolute insanity. You could see Paul Sperry making clear the bias of today's Twitter witnesses. Yoel Roth, Dem donor, called Trump a racist tangerine and Trump White House officials the bad guys from WW2. Vijaya Gotti gave $2,700 to Hillary, $2,700 to Kamala. I'm assuming that's probably a limit. She's a super multimillionaire. James Baker, Democrat. Annika Navaroli, Democratic racial justice activist for Color of Change. So all the people testifying are certified scumbaggery. You can see top oversight Republican James Comer makes former Twitter head of trust and safety Yoel Roth panic after he pulls out massive poster with Roth's tweet calling Trump and his supporter. Let's watch.
Gentleman yields back. I'll recognize myself now for questioning. The Biden family investigation begins with the story of how big tech, the media, former intelligence agents, And the Bidens themselves suppressed the story of Hunter Biden's laptop weeks before the 2020 election. Today, we're hearing from Twitter executives who buried the New York Post laptop story, claiming it violated the platform's hacked materials policy. In reality, the Twitter executives were hostile towards conservatives and biased towards anyone who opposed their points of view. For example, Mr. Roth, did you write this tweet?
Uh-oh.
I regret the language that I used in some of my former tweets, but yes, I did post that.
And I'll read the tweet so it's in the record. Yes, that person in the pink hat is clearly a bigger threat to your brand of feminism than actual Nazis in the White House. Mr. Roth, do you think all conservatives are Nazis?
Certainly not, sir.
What about the hundreds of people who worked in the Trump administration?
Certainly not.
Did Ms. Gaddy or any other lawyer at Twitter ever tell you to take down that tweet?
No, Twitter did not have a practice of restricting employees sharing their personal viewpoints on the service.
Oh. Of course, we all know all the various tweets that were related to Yoel Roth and all the, look, he's allowed to be a goofball leftist if he wants. There's nothing against that, of course. But it also calls into question when you look at, his job and the things that he was responsible for at Twitter, also interfacing directly with the FBI and all of the issues that were brought about by the Twitter files in that, American citizens, this is an issue globally, of course, but in America, we have the First Amendment and our government is not allowed to infringe on that. And what they did was use an end around, in my opinion, by just having Twitter do it for them. We saw relative nobodies on Twitter, 10, 20 follower Andys, getting suspended from Twitter at the direct request of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Why do you think that would be? Don't you think that, let's say that Yoel Roth was like a hard right-leaning person. Do you think he would have been as quick to adhere to that? Probably not, because people have their biases, It's just the way they are. Then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who brought up her personal Twitter account, saying, you permanently ban my Twitter account, but you allow these type of images all over Twitter.
So glad that you're censored down. I'm so glad you've lost your jobs. Thank God Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Elon.
And you know what? Let's talk about something a little bit further. It's amazing to me, Mr. Roth, as the head and trust of safety at Twitter,
trust and
your
safety.
ability, or should I say inability, to remove child. Now, here's something that disgusts me about you. In your doctoral dissertation entitled Gay Data, you argued that minors should have access to Grindr, an adult male gay hookup app.
Oops.
Minors? Really? Elon Musk took over Twitter and he
Elon.
banned 44,000 accounts that were promoting child. You permanently banned my Twitter account, but you allowed child over Twitter. Twitter had become a platform, you said, connecting queer young adults. You also wrote on Twitter in 2010, can high school students ever meaningfully consent to sex with their teachers? In 2021, while you were the director of trust and safety on Twitter, an underage boy and his mother announced a lawsuit against Twitter because Twitter was benefiting from and refused to remove a lewd video featuring this boy and another minor.
Yep.
That is repulsive.
I'm not a big Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm kind of, it's just like with Ted Cruz. Like Ted Cruz has good takes, but he also has bad takes. I'd say that's a pretty epic take, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And there's just so many, you abuse the power of a large corporation, goes on to say, and big tech to censor Americans. I'm so glad you are censored now, and I'm so glad that you've lost your jobs. I mean, they're not really censored, and I wouldn't want them censored. I'm happy they're fired, though. And then, of course, Annie Briggs, questions former trust. I mean, this is straightforward, directed, backed by evidence.
Within just mere minutes or hours after the New York Post published its story on the Hunter Biden laptop, at 8:51 a.m., you sent a message to a team, part of your team, I assume, and you said It isn't clearly violative of our hacked materials policy, referring to the story, nor is it clearly in violation of anything else. Do you remember sending that message?
Oops.
Thank you for the question, Congressman. I don't recall that message specifically, but that does sound like my judgment on that day, yes.
Okay, so that was early on in the day, and yet shortly thereafter, Kayleigh McEnany, White House press secretary's, her account was locked. So an inquiry was made the next day by a person named Carolyn Strom. You know Carolyn Strom?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah, and Carolyn Strom asked what's going on here, and somebody named Elaine Ong Soto said the user was bounced by site integrity for violating our hacked materials policy. Do you remember that incident?
Yes, sir, I do.
Uh-oh.
And somebody named Trenton Kelly.
So, I mean, I think you have this situation where they're basically just reading from the Twitter files and setting them up and just knocking them down.
Kennedy said, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for marking this as unsafe. And I think the best explainability argument, now that may be a technical term for you, but for me it looks like we're trying to create a narrative here to cover our butt.
Yep.
The best explainability argument for this externally will be that we're waiting to understand if this story is the result of hacked materials. Do you remember Mr. Kennedy's communication?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
then we get into a whole series of things.
Essentially, he goes through here and basically says, "Well, wait, why did you change it? You know, he was clearly pressured." And you could see, like, here, Jim Jordan makes former Twitter censorship bot Yoel Roth physically squirm on live TV, watching his hands literally tremble as he gets grilled. They're already unraveling.
With the First Amendment, but the government's saying, we don't think these accounts comply with your terms of service. Please take them down. You see a problem there, Mr.
He's saying, just like we said, the government can infringe on your rights, but the government's telling you to infringe on other people's rights. Is there something weird here?
Mr. Roth?
Mr. Chairman, I'm seeing a flashing red light. I'm happy to answer the question. Do I think that that's a valuable use of the FBI's time? No, but I don't see in a request for review a problem under the First Amendment, no.
I sure do. I thank the gentleman.
Of course you would say that because you don't want to incriminate yourself. But of course, it is violative of our First Amendment rights. It's just the government using an end around to silence Americans. I can't wait. I'm pulling in all this data. We're going to have Vijay Gotti next, and then Jim Baker after that, and then probably a couple other topics. So make sure you subscribe down below. You make sure you click that like button and share it on Twitter. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I really do appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you again real soon.